Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the October 3rd, 2018 County Commissioners Workshop meeting. I'd like to ask everyone to please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call this meeting to order at 9:10 and open the floor to any public comments. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is on Dana Best to discuss the 2017 federal cost allocation plan. Dana, good morning.
Good morning. This is the cost allocation plan that we use to reimburse the county for administrative expenses. So what happens is annually we enter into an agreement with Maximus, or it could be another vendor, to do the allocation plan. And what that gives us is the ability to bill out the different departments for administrative costs, like finance, controller, IT, HR, and then to bill those back to the department so that we can maximize our grant reimbursements. And so this is the plan, it's what we use to bill for 2019. And there's a requirement that it's accepted by the Board of Commissioners, or the board.
Are there any questions?
I just have one, not on the cost allocation plan itself, but on the contract we have with Maximus. How much is that contract, do you know?
Off the top of my head, I do not know. I believe it runs in the $10,000 to $11,000 range.
Okay. Are there other vendors that also provide?
There are other vendors. Over time, we have chosen to stick with Maximus because they are one of the major providers in it. In the indirect cost industry, they stay on top of the federal guidelines. The other thing that also gives us is a lot of our grantors don't come in for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they do the audit. Well, Maximus will still back us up on those 10-year-old items. And if we change frequently, we will only have a 3-year backup of the indirect cost plan.
Okay.
So that's why we have chosen to stick with Maximus.
Yeah, and the reason I asked the question is because Maximus around the state has, attained some notoriety with respect to their handling of certain contracts with the state. So, but you're saying we have no problems with them?
No. And for the indirect cost plan, they have many different divisions,
Mm-hmm.
and we use them only for the indirect cost plan. And I don't know what their other divisions, and I don't deal with them, but we've had the same
We haven't had
person.
any problems?
No.
All right. Thank you.
Quite the opposite. They back us up for things they don't have to.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Dave, this is a federal requirement so that we can qualify for federal grants, so you said.
It is in the single audit guidelines that this has to be approved. They do accept this as an eligible expense in federal programs. So the federal and states.
Federal and state.
Correct. So we bill children and youth is one of our main.
Okay.
So I pick one up.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. We'll move on to agenda item number 4. We have Rebecca Garrett here to discuss the amendment to the memorandum of agreement between the county of Cumberland and the Pennsylvania State Historic Preservation Office regarding the 203 East Main Street demolition project. Good morning.
Good morning. The Cumberland County Development Authority requests your concurrence and your signature on a modified memorandum of agreement with the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission, Cumberland County Historical Society, the Mechanicsburg Historical Architectural Review Board, and Worcester County. This relates to the property next to Frankenberger Tavern in Mechanicsburg Borough, the formerly blighted, condemned, and fire-ravaged buildings, the house, the garage, and the outhouse, that the Redevelopment Authority, with your help and the generosity of the community, purchased in July 2017. We have not yet started the actual design of the property, which will be conveyed to the Mechanicsburg Museum Association to use as Frankenberger Gardens. The original memorandum noted that the space would be a green space, and with that, because the Museum Association would like to add utilities, water, sewer, electric, to create an outhouse / potting shed / tool shed that will resemble the Frankenberger Tower in terms of building materials and design. That required a modified MOA because we would be disturbing the ground somewhat. The PHMC has approved that. Now we need signatures on a new memorandum of agreement to advance the project, and with that, we can stop it for $1 to the Museum Association and get things underway to create Frankenberger Gardens.
Are there any questions, Commissioners?
No, I'm familiar with it. I know we've had a lot of discussion of it at the Housing Redevelopment Authority meetings. And I know Rebecca's been a true leader on this whole effort. And this, as I understand, is just to provide for some facilities in the area of the garden. And I have no problem with it. I think it's going to be wonderful when it's all done. So
It looks very simple. I have no questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take us on to agenda item number 5, and I'll move to Ms. Moyle.
Thank you, Steve. Agenda items 5, Roman numeral 1, A through C are existing contracts, extensions, or addendums with no additional costs or increase to the county. They include the following departments. There were 2 contracts for aging and community services, 1 contract for children and youth, and 3 contracts for MHIDD. Commissioner, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding any of the above-mentioned agreements? Okay. Next, we move on to agenda item 5, Roman numeral 2, which consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases and decreases to the county, and begin by calling on Joan Fall to discuss the agreements for aging and community services. Joan?
Good morning. I just got 3 this morning. First one is the Salvation Army. It's just an amendment to the previous contract with additional monies of $8,980. Second one is the Central PA Food Bank for the 2018-2019 year. It was a decrease from the previous year, $1,981.13. And the final one is VNA Private Duty Home Support Services. They received an increase of 30 cents from the previous contract.
Any questions, Commissioner? Thank you, Jen. Next, we'll move on to agenda item D, on Lisa Ryder to discuss the agreement between Children and Youth and Diacon Child Family and Community Ministries. Lisa?
Good morning, Commissioners. I have asked for approval for Diacon Lutheran Services for fiscal year 18-19. For their in-home services, they're requesting an increase in their weekend alternative program of 3%, which is a $5.05 increase. They have not requested an increase in this particular program since fiscal year 2013-14, so it's been quite a few years for that. They're also asking for a rate increase in their specialized income treatment, which is a sex offenders program. This per diem is set by Perform Care. It's a 2% increase, which is $1.90, and typically we will fund that until we can get the services flipped to medical assistance. And the third one they're asking for an increase is the court testimony of 2%, of $2.14. I don't believe we've ever used the court testimony, but we need to have it in contract in case we ever would need it. For their out-of-home services, which are their foster care programs, they are only asking for rate increases in 2 of their levels, which is a 2% increase. The one is $1.16 and the other one is $1.52. The rest are making it a 0% increase.
Any questions for Lisa?
Just the heading of the report, I think we need to correct. It says 2017, 2018, both columns. I think one, I guess, should be 2018, 2019.
Okay, I'll make sure they correct that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Lisa. Next, we'll move on to agenda item C and call on Holly Sherman to discuss agreements with the reports of Holly.
Good morning. I'm here to talk about 2 addendums. One is to the current 3-year contract with Capital Blue Cross for our ASO medical services, dental and vision. Capital Blue Cross, after we went out to market, decreased their rates on all 3 lines of coverage for the remaining 2 years of the contract. It's an estimated savings or difference or decrease of $485,000 over the next 2 years. Any questions on that?
That's good.
The next contract, Bavaria is our wellness provider. They actually have now merged or Simply Well, so the name is easier for everybody to say. So this contract is an addendum to for our wellness services. What this is doing is removing the on-site biometric screening services, and we are moving to a physician lab form. So it decreases the fees on that line. We are trying to move towards encouraging employees to go see their physician rather than having an on-site biometric to start some dialogues that on-site biometrics aren't able to do. Want to note that we still receive wellness dollars from Capital Blue Cross to cover a portion of these expenses through Bavaria. It's an estimated $225,000 savings over the 2 years of our contract. Any questions? Any questions for Paul?
Good.
Thank you, Colin. Next, I'd like to move on to Sue Carwell to discuss the NHIDD agreements, which consists of 1 agreement for fiscal year 2018-19 early intervention and 3 agreements for fiscal year 2017-18 mental health. Sue?
Yes, good morning. So the first contract for early intervention is Geneva Worldwide, which is our language interpretation service for when we meet with families who don't speak English. And it is a decrease this year of $2,986. And again, these are state funds for early intervention. Now, the contracts for mental health, there are 17-18 contract amendments. The one for Aurora Social Rehabilitation Services is an increase of $1,902 due to additional services held in over contract. Keystone Service Systems is an increase of $48,752. Same reason, additional services held in over contract. And New Visions is an increase of $192,108. Same reason, due to additional services held in over contract. So these services that were in the contract were services that were for emergencies and to provide more support for those, for individuals needing extra support in the community. Again, these are state dollars.
Any questions? Thank you, Sue. We may have to call Kirk. Next, Kirk Stoner will be discussing the Michael Baker agreement.
Kirk Stoner speaking.
Hey Kirk, it's Sandy.
Hi, Sandy.
It's your turn to talk about the Michael Baker contract with planning.
Sure, Commissioners, this is a contract with Michael Baker to assist on our hazard mitigation plan. As you may be aware, earlier this year, we submitted a grant to FEMA for support to update our hazard mitigation plan. Initially, we were going to do this all in-house between the planning and public safety departments. As we looked at some of the FEMA requirements and our availability from the staff level, we decided we might need a little consulting help. So Michael Baker is able to help us out. This is their contract. It's a small amount for $25,000. Their amount is covered by the grant, and then we're matching the 25% local match with our in-kind services from the county. So planning department staff, public safety staff are still going to be working on the project and counting our time as local match to the project. So there will be no impact to the general fund with this agreement.
Any questions, Commissioners, for Kirk? Thank you, Kirk.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Agenda item 8, we'll call on Benny Nebo and Erica Ernest to discuss the paperless solutions agreement. Whoever wants to go first.
This is a contract with Paper Solutions, who is a provider for the digital imaging services for both the Thornberry and Commercial Court, to provide a PDFA copy of our images, which is been approved by the state archives to archival purposes. That just has changed that recently been made because we will have the PDFA copies. We'll be able to destroy our permanent paper records in more space. It costs $7,800, and both offices are going to pay for that out of our automation funds, so there'll be no effect on the general fund.
Any questions? Thank you.
No, I don't think so, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to agenda item G, and Claudia Garman will be joining us video teleconferencing to discuss the agreement with CenturyLink and Homeland Security Grant. Claudia?
All right, good morning, everyone. The first item I have is our Avaya maintenance contract. This is a renewal. It is a one-year agreement on the primary office network phone system, which is also a secondary phone system for the 911 center. It is a one-year agreement with CenturyLink for $18,631. Any questions on that one?
Claudia, the previous
Okay.
agreement was 1 year as well?
That's correct.
I think you mentioned this and I forget. Why is the decrease?
The decrease is because last year, when we switched to our new phone system, the Vesta 911 phone system, there was also a lapse in coverage for our backup phone system. So we had additional expenses last year that we do not have this year. So this is a true one-year agreement. And we're also, we had mentioned this at the review team meeting, we're working with IMTO to explore the opportunities of joining to the countywide network next year.
Any other questions for Claudia on that one? All right, Claudia.
All right, so the second item we have is a request for the commissioners to sign and approve our portion of the South Central Task Force Region grant application for the Homeland Security funding. It is for fiscal year 18. It has a 3-year performance period. Dauphin County is the fiduciary for the task force, and they apply for the grant on behalf of all 8 counties and also handle all of the funding and expenses. However, PEMA is requiring each county to sign on the agreement on the signature page annually so that they know for sure that every county is invested in partnering in this. Our portion is on page 9, so it is also circulated to the other 7 counties, and we just need to get that back to PEMA so that Dauphin can operate for the task force.
Do you have any questions for Claudia on that agenda?
I don't have page 9, I don't think so.
No, I'm going to copy all.
So what is our portion, that's all, I'm just curious.
So the total grant for the task force, for our task force region, is $1,641,757,000. So that all goes into Dauphin County to purchase the equipment, and then the equipment is dispersed. So there's no impact to our funds.
We don't have any revenues then, is what you're saying, we get pieces.
Correct. We have no revenues, no expenses. This is purely just a task force agreement.
Do you know how it's divvied up among the 8 counties?
Well, I don't know the specifics of it because I'm not involved in that portion of it, but I do know that, that there's needs assessments done, and then there is some type of disbursement as far as like the team needs. For example, the Bearcat that's used by the SRT, that was a purchase from the task force. I don't know enough to speak to it, so I can get you those answers though and get back to you.
Great, Claudia, I'm just curious as to how it's all, dispersed. And-
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
There's a very long spreadsheet that accompanies it with all the equipment listed, so be ready.
Thanks, Claudia, fine.
Are there any other questions?
Absolutely.
No.
Okay, Claudia, thank you. Just want to hold on for a minute. That's all we have.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. We'll just stick with Claudia, and she can provide us an update on the donations for the 2018 LETC Sarah Summit. Claudia?
All right, so as you know, our team has been working hard on preparing the Sarah Summit. It is going to be on October 23rd here at our facility, and they have partnered up with another local business called ACV, and they are donating or sponsoring, I should say, $500. The check is for $525 because they're paying for an additional representative to come. But their sponsorship is $500, and once we have all the expenses in, I'm going to provide you with a full report of how much sponsorship money we received in comparison to the expenses. But right now, it looks like it will be completely paid for by our public safety partners that we've created in the field with the businesses.
Any questions, commissioners, or comments? All right, thank you very much, Claudia.
All right, have a good day.
Jim, thank you, Claudia.
You as well. That'll take us to Commissioners' Liaison Reports. Commissioner DeFilippo?
I have none this time around. I just want to report that I did attend the fall conference of the South Mountain Partnerships last week, and just gave them an update on what's going on in the county. And the folks there were still very appreciative of our position that we took in the 2017 state budget, where we announced our concern about the potential taking of funds that were affected farmland preservation and other conservation efforts. The conference was very interesting. And I provide my colleagues here a copy. Their strategic plan and vision for the next 3 years. There's also a PowerPoint presentation given that I'm still waiting to get a copy of about how global warming is going to is already affecting not only the world, but Pennsylvania and its products, its agriculture, trees, insects. It's very interesting. I want to share that with you folks. And that's about it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hertzler?
Thanks, Steve. The Housing and Redevelopment Authority boards met Thursday, September 20. Not an awful lot to report, but just want to let you know the construction of the townhomes at Factory Square on the site of the former Carlisle Tire and Wheel Factory was nearing completion. The first 10 units were expected to be occupied by now. The so-called workforce housing, a total of 52 units, is expected to be fully leased up by the end of the year. And at the end of 10 years, tenants will have an option of home ownership. County's federally funded housing choice voucher program, meanwhile, continues to have an extensive wait list of approximately, at last count, 981 otherwise eligible in-county residents. A total of 1,204 county families are receiving rental subsidy assistance through the Housing Choice Voucher Program. The Harrisburg Area Transportation Study Coordinating Committee met on Friday morning, September 21. The Tax Coordinating Committee approved a joint memorandum along with the Franklin County and Lebanon County MPOs addressed to PennDOT's attention, calling for an updated master plan for the Interstate 81 corridor that takes into account new information from the recently updated I-81 widening study, including its projected $2.9 billion cost. For the purpose of zeroing in on priority projects along the corridor, with the understanding that none of what's needed will get done overnight and unfortunately anytime soon. It's expected that the section of I-81 in this Carlisle area will be one of those areas targeted for improvements, but as always, everything is contingent on available funding. And until the federal government actually steps up to the plate and addresses the infrastructure deficit in this nation with the seriousness that it deserves, we can only expect continued traffic congestion and the likelihood that it will worsen and the number of highway accidents and deaths increase in our county and throughout the region. In the meantime, the Band-Aid with respect to the installation of cable median barriers along I-81 in our county and throughout the region to help prevent the incidence of deadly crossover wrecks has been slowed, according to the PennDOT District 8 exec Mike Kaiser, by all the rain that we've had this year. He says that they are pushing the contractor to get the work done before the end of the year, and so we shall see. In our county, meanwhile, PennDOT has commenced work on a $7.8 million replacement of the 66-year-old Hereford Road Bridge over the Harvey Taylor bypass. Once complete, the new bridge will be wider than the existing bridge, which will help to accommodate the nearly 12,000 vehicles that traverse this section of Hereford Road on a daily basis. The Aging Advisory Board met Friday, September 21. The Office of Aging is working with our District Attorney's Office on the formation of an elder abuse task force in an effort to crack down on those who would prey on the county's older adult population. An initial meeting with the DA's office was held, and another meeting is scheduled, as I understand, for November. The Cumberland County Conservation District Board met on Tuesday evening, September 25. Staff unveiled the district's newly revised website, which is now coordinated with the county's website, and the board authorized $50,000 toward the county's cover crop farmer incentive program in the upcoming year, and another $30,000 for other farm best management practices. Carl Caution reported that the EPA is ratcheting up efforts for more farm inspections in another attempt to achieve Chesapeake Bay 2025 goals. And that's all I have for now. I do have an item that I'd like to bring up under other business. And I'll let that go.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, just a handful of minutes. The MHID, we pushed out with the suit about the contracts earlier. Board meeting 2 weeks ago, we got the major speaker gave us a summary of the Project Search internship program, and I've got send us information. I'll pass along to you about that in writing. They're very pleased with not only our participation, but the overall success of the program. Most of the interns that are now working permanent jobs, and we see great things for the future with the potential anticipated continuance of the program as well. So definitely a good news story. The planning department asked me to pass along that the 3 candidates that we have for vacancies on the planning commission that will occur by end of the year, we're going to be getting those names, I believe, today. That's the plan. And so we'll have a chance to take a look at those and take action in the near future on those. So, Orr's Bridge replacement has been advertised. As discussed previously, it will be open November 1st, and we'll see where we stand. Hopefully proceed on anticipated schedule, assuming that the bids come in okay. The other thing Kirk asked me to point out was that they are working in partnership with a group of students from Dickinson College in a supervised basis to help develop a climate change component to the hazard mitigation plan that the county is required to have by state law. And they're going to count on the cohort to assess potential climate change impacts on the natural hazards facing the county. You probably remember that flooding is considered a major natural hazard, so obviously anticipated changes that would come out of climate change that will be at the top of the list, so we're potentially impacted by that, so we want to be planning for the future on that, and that's a nice example of how we get to work with a local partner and leverage their knowledge and not have to outlay a lot of dollars to get access to that knowledge as well. So both parties are very enthusiastic about where that goes. And we'll be reporting back to you more on that in the future. Justin still has not sent me the summary from the last recycling event, so I asked him about that. He did tell us been tied up between his participation in leadership Cumberland, which we authorized, and that right now their duties are pretty heavy on the yard waste front. So, and they're preparing for, a lot of municipalities are preparing for later, so they're utilizing our equipment, and that's taking up a great deal of his time as well. So we'll have more on the other recycling-based issues in the near future. Only other thing I wanted to mention was that last week I did attend the public session at Shippensburg University, in which the new state system chancellor was essentially doing a meet and greet, get to know you kind of orientation, and they had invited public officials to attend. I was there representing the board locally. Steve Old from the township was there, so we had a little bit of a chance to interact with the chancellor, trying to press upon him the importance of the role that Shippensburg plays in our community. And as you are all probably aware, the state system is going through some real struggles in terms of enrollment and financial impacts and reductions in state funding as well. So, new president of the university, new chancellor for the state system. There's potential for significant changes there, and we want them to be aware of the important role that Shippensburg plays in our communities here. So, happy to have that opportunity. That's everything I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to report that executive sessions were held on September 25th at 10 a.m. and September 26th at 11:30 a.m., both regarding personnel issues. I'd also like to request an executive session be held directly after this meeting on personnel issues. And that takes us to other business. Commissioner Hertzler, did you have something to bring up?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Steve, and I'll try to be brief. Just to bring my colleagues up to date on the fact that September 13th was when we sent our second letter to Sunoco Pipeline. Requested again that they attend the county hosted meeting to address any citizen concerns with respect to Mariner 2, which is not yet commenced operations, but it's pretty much complete as far as the project goes. As far as I know, I'm going to check with staff, Sandy, we have not received any response back from Sunoco Pipeline. Okay. Well, in the interim, I've also, what I've been doing is a little research. The Public Utility Commission actually regulates safety with respect to this pipeline. And under the guidance of federal requirements and federal laws with respect to safety. Sunoco Pipeline is required to have a public awareness program in conjunction with their operations. And it is interesting to note that since we have indicated an interest in this, and others have indicated an interest in this, the in communications I had with staff at the Public Utility Commission, Sunoco Pipeline is now distributing 64,000 brochures, along the route of the pipeline throughout Pennsylvania. And these brochures, which I have them, copies of them here, are going to all neighbors within 1,000 feet on either side of the pipeline. And this includes residents, businesses, churches, schools, any address within 1,000 feet will be receiving these. Also excavators, all excavation companies with an address within 7.5 miles of the pipeline. In addition, all emergency officials, all emergency organizations in the counties where the pipelines are located, plus a 10-mile buffer. So if the pipeline is near a county line, emergency services in the neighboring county within 10 miles will receive the information. And also public officials, all governments within the pipeline county, plus those within a 10-mile buffer. So I'm pleased to see that Sunoco Pipeline is at least starting to provide some information to the public. I've had an opportunity to just glance through the piece that's going to the general public, and it does provide information on the fact that along the pipelines there are markers with contact information. If there's any indication of a problem, they talk about how leaks are unusual. In most cases, the pipelines are made of steel, and so forth and so on. Whether it's all sufficient or not in terms of addressing the questions our citizens may have, I don't know. In further consultation with the staff representative of the Public Utility Commission, he indicated to me that the PUC, let me back up. The federal regs, as far as I can tell, require a public awareness campaign, program, but they do not necessarily require the company to attend any meetings. Provides that option to the company that they can hold outreach meetings, but there's no specific requirement. My understanding is that the PUC would have the ability to, if they chose to, require Sunoco Pipeline LLC to hold public outreach meetings. And what was interesting about this is because I was working with Keith on this and he was helpful. Sunoco goes by a pipeline, it goes by a bunch of different names. Energy Transfer, they got Sunoco, and they got Sunoco Pipeline LLC. And it's kind of complicated, but what we had understood is that they were regulated under an act passed by the General Assembly that said that the PUC could not go beyond the requirements of the federal government. However, in my consultation with the staff at the PUC, because Sunoco Pipeline LLC is a public utility, that the PUC could in fact go beyond the federal requirements so to make a long story short, trying to get.
This is the short version?
I'm trying to get. I would like us to send a letter to the Public Utility Commission and ask them to make a policy that would essentially require Sunoco Pipeline to conduct periodic outreach meetings with the general citizenry to essentially keep them informed of things that they should need to look out for and precautions that they should take, and also address any questions that ordinary citizens have. So I had not reduced those thoughts to writing yet, but I wanted to get the concurrence of my colleagues on that before I attempt that. And I think everybody talked to, including I talked to the supervisors office, and folks there just can't believe that this company is just refusing to respond, refusing to lead the public, to answer the questions. So I'd like us to ask the PUC to require this, and we'll see whether they take it up.
Do they have the authority to do that, the PUC?
Apparently, they do. Whether they will or not is another question. But because it's a public, Sunoco, right, if you recall this debate, because it had to do with eminent domain, right, they made it a distinct effort to become a public utility so that they would have the power of eminent domain. Right? So, all right, now they're a public utility, so maybe they ought to be held to account as a public utility under the guidelines, and maybe some more stringent guidelines that the PUC has the ability to establish.
If they want the benefits of it, they should take the responsibility that comes with it.
Now, I have no idea how the company could potentially react to this. I just know that they haven't been responsive to us. Will they try to say, no, we're not a public utility in this case? I think it would be very difficult for them to make that argument based on, again, my understanding. But I think it's worthwhile. I mean, my understanding is that the State House Republican Policy Committee also had invited Sunoco Pipeline to attend a meeting that they're going to have on this, or on their project, and that Sunoco refused them. So I think there may be some interest, both parties, both sides, in seeing something happen, along these lines. I know we've had some interest from some of our legislators with respect to this issue as well, but I think this is the next route for us to take, since we still have not heard back in a positive fashion from Sunoco Pipeline. They just seem to, and do I care that they're blowing off the three of us? No. I care that they're ignoring the people we represent, 250,000 citizens of Cumberland County, who may have an interest in, some of whom may have a real serious interest in knowing what this means in their backyard. I would like to believe, and I do, that underground pipeline is probably the safest route, the safest to transfer these products. But then again, we had that explosion that occurred out in western Pennsylvania. So I think that, people know, what the company's done. They say safety is their number one priority. Well, if safety is your number one priority, then why can't you meet with people? It doesn't make any sense.
Does CCAP have a position on this? Are they aware?
Excuse me?
CCAP?
I haven't talked to CCAP.
Are other counties willing to do this? I mean, I'm not against it.
Yeah.
It's like we're throwing sticks at a huge oak tree.
Yeah, well, I think that, I know there's been others, especially down in Chester County. We could certainly, if we do something, we could certainly try to reach out to other counties and CCAP to see whether we get some support and interest in it as well. So I don't know, CCAP has a committee, don't they, for energy and
Yes.
the environment?
Yeah.
Okay. We might be able to, if we do something along these lines, we might be able to bring it up at the next conference coming up here next month. So anyway, that's what I know at this point. Are you guys okay with
Yeah.
that? Okay. I'll
I
put some.
didn't want to be flippant about, short version, long version, because I appreciate the thoroughness actually of bringing that to us. And I appreciate the newfound safety concerns by the company too. I mean, they put the phone number on.
Apparently, there's an emergency
Anybody trying to
contact.
call
There's a 24-hour, and this is this is good that they did this finally. I'm just, I'm wondering as to whether or not, our questions and some of the other questions that raise all of a sudden, we better send something out to the public. So they are, and that's good. But there's a 24-hour emergency telephone number here that they listed in the brochure, and as I understand it, it must be on these markers on the pipelines as well.
It's on the same sign that says, stay 100 feet back.
So you can't read it.
So that's it. Thanks for your indulgence.
I wonder, it has nothing really to do with this, but why are they using steel? I mean, steel corrodes.
They say here.
I'm sure there's a reason.
Pipelines are typically made of steel covered with a protective coating and buried several feet underground, that's all they say.
Protective.
I have no idea what that means. Yeah, the markers contain the name of the pipeline operator and emergency contact information, so. And for your safety, markers are used to indicate the approximate location of pipelines. But anyway, I'll make copies
Okay.
for this, you guys have this. I got this from the PUC, so they just notified the PUC that they were doing this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any other business to come forward to the Board of Commissioners today? Hearing none, we will adjourn and reconvene in executive session for a personnel matter and personal matters in a few moments. Thank you very much.